Welcome to Mortgage Masterminds. I'm Richard Grieser, VP of Marketing at Sales Boomerang and Mortgage Coach. And my guest is Matt Gougé. Did I get that right?
You nailed it.
All right. Branch manager at MTMG, which is Matt the Mortgage Guy. And if you haven't heard about Matt the Mortgage Guy, go online and Google it right now. You can't miss Matt the Mortgage Guy. He is everywhere on social media. Matt, thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me, Richard. Yeah, that's kind of my pitch to folks is if you can't find me online, I'm not doing it right. And from the very start, just branding the heck out of Matt the Mortgage Guy all over everywhere. So yeah, Google it, check out the YouTube channel. That's a passion project that's 8 years in the making where I'm just trying to empower people through education, whether it's investors, first-time home buyers. The neat kind of thing about that one is I've had more and more loan officers come to Matt the Mortgage Guy, and they follow the lives and ask questions. And I was thinking to myself the other day, like, if I was a brand new loan officer, I think that would be a cool place to learn too. You know, somebody who's doing a lot of business and seeing a lot of different scenarios.
That is really cool. So you're acting as a coach without even trying to, is really what it comes down to, right?
Yeah.
And maybe you got some people who are just learning from you and saying like, oh, I'm going to do that. So I'm going to start off with telling a little story. I always do a quick little plug on Sales Boomerang and Mortgage Coach, but I thought this was so cool. We got one very this is a mortgage coach who's got a lot of experience, maybe 9 years of using Mortgage Coach. His name's Josh Braun, and there's another of his colleagues. His name's Sean, and Sean had, for like 9 years, Josh has been trying to get Sean to use Mortgage Coach, and finally he agrees to do it and has some really great success with it. That's an upcoming webinar that we've got coming up. We're going to feature both of them in a case study and webinar, and I think if you're interested, everybody look out for that. That's going to be a fantastic discussion. These are both real big heavy hitter top producers, and I'm really excited about that one. So that's coming up in the future, but let's jump right into this, Matt. I'm here to learn a little bit more about you and to let everybody kind of learn from you. So what I'm really interested in doing today is learning about like what's working so well for you. And I can tell by looking at your social media that you obviously know what you're doing. And I think anybody who's like a borrower potentially thinking about buying a house looks at what the content you're putting out there and is like, I got to talk to this guy. Like he definitely could help me as a financial advisor, right? So why don't you tell everybody a little bit about your approach. Let's just say your approach to what you do every single day, every single month, and how you prepare and make your business successful.
Right. Yeah. I appreciate all the accolades. Really, I'm just, somebody who got into mortgage 8 years ago and has been a student of the game ever since. And as I've learned and gotten better, I've shared that, publicly, right, on YouTube and through my journey of working with clients. And you see brand new scenarios every single day. And you share that information and that knowledge, it helps you learn and absorb it better, right? And so I shared with loan officers recently about YouTube. While it's a great lead generator, while it's a great thing to share with real estate agents and position yourself as an industry thought leader or expert or whatever you want to call it, it's also been a great educational tool for myself. I think. When I think about Mortgage Coach and all the different tools that are out there to help loan originators, it's the same thing. You go through doing 1,000 TCAs. There's no way you're not going to be a better loan officer after doing 1,000 of them, right? It's like getting reps and anything else. You don't go to the gym and shoot 500 three-pointers a day and after a year shoot worse, right? You're always going to shoot better, right? It's a repetition thing. So, I approach my business and I think I try to keep it pretty simple for myself. I'm trying to add value to any consumer that I come across, and I try to add value to any referral partner that, trusts me enough to refer a client to us. And you can add value in a ton of different ways. When I first started out, I always got to give credit to my wife for saying, as I was trying to come up with different ideas, different ways to brand myself. I knew that it's like, no matter where I work, I want to brand myself as me. And so I was thinking like Matt Gougé, mortgage professional. I had all these different things. And my wife was like, people just want someone who they can relate to. They want a mortgage guy, Matt the Mortgage Guy. And so that's where that was born in 2014 is Matt the Mortgage Guy. And I think all my advising and every conversation I have is like trying to just be relatable and talk to folks on some scenarios I ran across this morning with clients as I'm trying to advise them. I tell them, well, here's something that I did, and here's something that I learned. And based on everything that I know, and since I'm in this stuff every single day, here's what I think you might want to do. You can do it this way, you can do it that way. And when you take that approach, I think it brings people's guard down, because whether we think that mortgage is super complicated and intimidating and scary, most consumers feel that way about it, right? Like, finances are scary, and people come to you as the expert to make it less scary, make it digestible and easy. And so anything I put out online, somebody gave me this advice long ago and I thought was great, right? Like, pretend like you're talking to a fifth grader. And I know that somebody watching this, folks that are using Mortgage Coach at a high level, probably talk to engineers. They probably can read their client and say, you know what, I'm going to talk to them a little bit different. But if 30% of home buyers are first-time home buyers and millennials that aren't Google engineers, and seeing things at a high level, you got to talk to them and break it down really simple for them. You've got 3% options. You've got 5% down options. Here's what the payments look like. Here's what your total cash to close would be. And like, with that approach, I think that's one of the main reasons why I've seen success, is because I'm just taking something that's, for some people would call the mortgage a necessary evil, right? Like, the house and all of that, that's the beautiful, sexy part of it, is the marble, countertops, the beautiful kitchen, and all the things that the couple falls in love with. They don't walk through a house and go, you know what? I can't wait to structure this mortgage. Structure this mortgage is going to be, that's not what they're thinking about. So it's a necessary evil. And as loan originators, we want to make it what I feel like we can make an enjoyable experience. It doesn't have to be daunting, scary, and, everyone's going to talk about what a pain in the backside it was to get a mortgage. I talked to Matt, the mortgage guy. He was easy going. His staff was super friendly. They wanted to show me, how to structure it. And they showed me videos on what it would look like with different down payment amounts before we even got into contract. They talked about if I got 2% seller credit, what I could use that for, whether it's a rate buy down to have a lower monthly payment, or whether it was covering all my closing costs so that my cash to close was less. That's the kind of stuff that leaves a lasting impression with borrowers. And like I told my team, it was timely that we jumped on this call at this time. Just got done with a sales call with my team, talking about adding value and advising people at a high level. There's no better sales technique than adding true value to somebody. Having somebody come off the phone and go, you know what Connor just told me, what Michelle just told me, that helped. I understand it better. I feel better about going and making an offer today at 525 because I know how I want to structure the mortgage. I know that if my agent can get me a $10,000 credit, what that's going to mean for me buying down the rate and the monthly payment. I've seen it all. They've coached, and so empowering people through education, whether it's Mortgage Coach or any other software, like, that's how you truly add value to clients, in my opinion.
Hey, I love that, and I totally agree. I think it's funny. The one thing you said was that the house is the sexy part, the contract and all of that, the mortgage isn't really the sexy part. But in reality, most Americans, I just looked at this stat for a webinar we were doing. I had to look it up. And I think most Americans that are like 60 and over, they have like 150,000 in net savings for their retirement. So when you think about how you're going to fund your retirement, the house is the financial vehicle to fund the retirement for most folks, especially you're in California. So I would imagine, do you do most of your business in California?
Yeah, most of it. Although we're in 44 states now, and that's a change I made as of like 1 year ago, joining New Mortgage. Still, majority of it, probably 80 to 85% of it, still California business.
Well, I mean, you look at the people who own homes and the amount of appreciation that their home has had in these last couple of years, right? And the high price of just retirement, how much money you need. You got to, on average, it's like 12 years of retirement you got to be able to pay for. So everyone is involved in this conversation, right? Someone like me who isn't retiring probably for 20, 25 years still needs to plan for it. I got parents who are retiring, that silver generation, that the boomer generation that's about to that's retiring right now and doesn't have enough money to do it, right? So like you could get on the phone with me and everyone I know you could add value to in terms of what they should be doing to help plan just for their retirement using their house, right? And we're not even talking about like paying for school. We're not talking about home improvements. There's so many conversations you can have with every single borrower. So when I hear that like the house isn't like this, the contract isn't the sexy part, that really is the sexy part, from my opinion, when you think that most people don't have a plan and you can help them actually get that plan every conversation, and then they can feel confident to go turn to their neighbor and their relative and be like, I know a guy who can really help you. Here's what he taught me that you can do when you retire. You know what I mean?
No, I totally agree. And you're right. Like on the surface, most people don't understand the sexiness of it, right? And then you educate them and you show them that the average net worth of a homeowner versus a renter is 40x, right? And it's 400,000 versus 10 or whatever the numbers are. It's drastic, right? And that's how, you get people excited. And, when I look at stats that, 30% of buyers are millennials, they don't know this stuff. They need to be educated on this stuff, because otherwise they're just like, you know what? Like, I like renting and they don't understand the implications, or like you talked about, the wealth building that home ownership affords.
Interesting. So are your conversations with millennials and just very different than other generations, you find?
Yeah, I think so. Because the move up buyers or different generations that just have a better feel for all of it are asking different questions. And I always coach my team up and remind them that people don't know what questions to ask. So a lot of times we've got to ask the questions, we've got to drive the conversations, and we've got to pull that stuff out of them. They don't know what's important in structuring a mortgage. And this was a conversation we had earlier today too, was I had a conversation with a real estate agent, and we're talking through how to work together as a team, what kind of offer he can put together and get a seller credit, and all this information that we pulled out of the client. What's most important? The cash out of pocket, the monthly payment, and then taking that information and structuring a mortgage that fits for them, their financial needs, their lifestyle, their future plans. If you're not having these conversations and you're not, laying out these plans and really thinking of it, the strategy part of it, then, you might as well just automate all this stuff. It might as well just be click button, get mortgage. But like I told a lot of people on my team, the 6.5% at par is not in the client's best interest most of the time. So we've got to be looking at the whole rate sheet. We've got to be looking at all the options, and with every single client, it's different, because there's different client needs and there's different life plans and how long you're going to stay in the house, what you're looking to do. All these things come into play. And so, for us mortgage nerds and mortgage geeks, it's fun, right? But for some people it can be daunting.
So let me ask you a question. Probably one of the most common scenarios, I'm just guessing, but you can confirm this, that you're probably hearing when you talk to a first-time home buyer is a rent versus buy. The mortgage coach has a complete analysis on this, but someone who's renting right now, they're interested in buying. Maybe they've been trying to buy in California for a long time, and it's been really hard because it's so competitive, and they fell out for a while, and maybe they're kind of dipping their toe back in the water. Tell me how those conversations go right now. How do you talk to someone who's renting in California and is interested in buying? Is it always a good deal? a good decision? Or do you think it is some of the time for some people? How does that conversation go?
Yeah, for me, and I tell people this, and I'm straightforward about it. I'm a big fan of real estate, and I'm a big believer that when given a long enough time horizon, it always makes sense to buy. Now, if you tell me you're moving in 2 years or something like that, maybe renting can make sense for some people. But if you plan on staying in this state, this neighborhood for a decade, like, you can run mortgage coaches, rent versus buy. MBS Highway has a great rent versus buy. And even if it feels more expensive in the moment, you go from a $2,200 a month rent to a $2,550 mortgage payment, when you start to see the debt pay down, when you start to see appreciation over time, tax benefit, all those things considered, buying almost always makes sense. And it's just a time horizon thing, right?
Yeah.
A long-term play, it's always going to be buy, but people don't know those numbers. They got to be shown all that stuff. And so it's that conversation. You know, it's an interesting conversation, interesting like topic to kind of throw around is I'm talking to a lot of people who are, for one reason or another, in a really good situation renting, where market rents might be $2,200 a month and they're renting for $1,200 a month. And so when you look at market rent of $2,200 versus maybe they buy in that same neighborhood and their mortgage payment is going to be $2,450. We know some of it goes towards principal. We know that appreciation. We know that over time buying still makes sense even if the payment's slightly higher. But versus that $1,200 payment, that's hard to justify. And so two things that I implement, because at the end of the day, I'm trying to advise and educate, and my team knows I'm not on a call trying to sell anyone. I'm just trying to provide all the information. They make the decisions. It's their life, it's their finances and all that. And so I've had a lot of these conversations where I said, you know, two ways I'm able to really educate folks is maybe show them a rent versus buy, but also share stories. And I can tell you, I probably have 24 stories of phone calls that I've received. And it's fairly frantic when you're in that great $1,200 a month situation and your landlord says you got 60 days. We're going to sell your house. And you talk about, you know, payment shock or stress or anything, you know, having to buy or go rent market rents for $2,500 a month in that time pressure situation, like that's bad. And so what I've been telling people is, hey, listen, if you don't feel like now is not the right time to buy, because another function of rent versus buy is, are you ready? Are your finances in order? You got your credit in a decent place? Do you feel comfortable with an emergency fund? Do you have a job that you feel really good about that's stable and it's going to continue? Because if that stuff's in shambles, that might also be another indicator. You might want to rent just because you need some more financial stability before you take the leap of home ownership. And so when I'm coaching folks or advising folks that have a $1,200 a month rent payment and their market rent is $2,400, I tell them at the very least, if you decide to rent, or if renting makes more sense for you because you want to make sure your job's more stable or you want to have more in savings or whatever, do yourself this favor. Tell yourself that $2,400 is the market rent or what your future mortgage payment's going to be. Act like that extra $1,200 doesn't exist and immediately put it in some sort of savings account. Because in that city where they're living, $2,400 is what they should be spending on housing. The fact that they're getting a great deal, don't take that for granted and don't go out and spend that extra money. And those are the things where, you know, that's good financial advice, no matter whether they're going to buy, rent, work with us, work with somebody else. And so I feel like we just want to have as many reps as possible, giving good advice. And then over time, that's just worked. You know, 265 people, and we wrote 109 million in mortgages last year on my team, giving advice, not selling anybody, right? Those people decided to work with us because we were adding enough value. And that's what I continue to preach to the team is that, you know, we're adding value, we're advising, you know, just the mortgage guy who's talking to every client like it was my brother or my sister or my cousin and saying, oh, you know what? You're thinking about buying forward and using this one as a rental. Let me show you what the rent numbers look like. Let me show you what cash flow you get there. You know, you're going to buy. Rates aren't as good as the one you locked in 2021. So your future payment on this new house might go up. You're going to offset a little bit with the rental income you're getting from your departing residents. But it's just conversation and it's just education.
Man, I don't know where you're getting that $1,200 from. Even on a sweetheart deal in California, there's no way there's anything in California for $1,200.
I'm telling you, there are some landlords that are just, you know, they're getting a $1,200 rent check. They're living in, you know, Barcelona or something, and they just don't want to trouble the people that keep paying the rent but those are few and far between. And over the last couple of years, there's probably been at least 24. I mean, I've got family members, I've had friends, I've had people from my kids' little league that's a bad situation, is when you have 60 days to find a new living situation, and then you're in the same predicament that a lot of people are in today, whether it's renting or buying. They're both expensive, and I don't pretend to say anything to the contrary, because it is. I get it. I get it that home prices and rates make it to where the mortgage payment feels a little uncomfortable. The rent payments are also uncomfortable.
Well, so that's a good transition to what you just said. I'm going to actually ask you the last two questions, I think, because it's all we got time for right now. But I love these two questions. One is, rates are going up, right? Rates have gone up, right? Everybody's seeing this stuff in the news. It's in the Wall Street Journal. It's on, C-SPAN, CNET, whatever. How are you dealing with those conversations when people are like, Matt, I don't know, should I sit on the sidelines or should I buy now? It seems like the rates are high right now. Like, what is the script? Like, how do you actually approach that?
Well, everything that people asked for and everything that people were upset about for, the crazy housing market in 20 and 21 in Sacramento, California, where I'm at, was a great example of that. That's all gone away. So our wish came true, right? There's not 20 offers. You get to have an inspection. You get to have an appraisal. You don't have to pay any appraisal gaps. That's not part of contracts anymore. So it's a lot easier for people to buy. The caveat is, to get all these things that we got, we're paying a higher interest rate. And so the good news is less competition, more negotiation. You get to keep all your inspections in place, which I can tell you there's a bunch of people that took a lot of unnecessary gambles waiving everything. That's no longer the...
You see my hand raised right here? I just bought a house. I just did that too, man.
But
everything needs to be replaced in this house, man.
I mean, I'm gonna have an inspector on my YouTube live soon who told me, Matt, you wouldn't believe some of these Bay Area houses where there's 200,000-300,000 worth of foundation damage or sewer damage, where you wouldn't have known and you didn't do an inspection. You just offered 1.6, almost sight unseen. And people got into some nasty issues because they waived everything. But that's where people are. You've got a bunch of positives where the market's easier, more negotiable. I've got clients today that places listed at $525, they're able to get it in contract for $499 with $9,500 in seller credit. They take that seller credit, they can structure their mortgage in a way where either they apply it towards rate buy down and they buy down the rate and they get a more comfortable payment, or they bring less out of pocket. And what I like to... Maybe
in like Richmond or Vallejo or something like that. I used to live in the Bay Area, so definitely not in like Albany or like...
we're back to Sacramento now. We're back to my hometown. Yeah, okay, 500,000 is reasonable. Yeah, in the Bay Area, it's like... It's two side-by-side parking spots for 500,000.
Yeah.
No homes there.
Yeah.
A vacant lot or a parking.
We've all seen the Simpsons tree. Like, it's like a tree house on the Simpsons, right? And it's like, $1.6 million.
Right. And so I'm having these conversations ultimately when people are unsure whether or not they should buy, and it's an issue with home prices or interest rates or anything like that. I remind them that long term, I'm a big believer in real estate, and I could point to a million millionaires and tons of investor friends. The house I bought in 2006, in 2009, you might have called me an idiot. Now you'd call me a guy who's got 400,000 in equity, a cash flow and rental property, and something that is going to pass on to my kids that's going to be worth $1 million 20 years from now and be paid off. But in 2009, I was an idiot. But it didn't matter because I'm holding it until 2000. I think I'm going to live to be 100. So I was born in 1980. I'm going to hold it till at least 2080 and probably pass it on to the kiddos. But in the short term, prices matter. In the long term, it's your specific financial scenario. And if you've got a stable job that pays X, and your monthly budget for housing, you've got to live somewhere, whether that's rent or mortgage, is Y, then we're going to find that why. We're going to structure a mortgage around that, whether it's rate buy down or whatnot. And here's the cool part. In Warren Buffett, I saw something great. When you sign a note on a 30-year mortgage, and granted it's higher than it was before, and you're willing to pay 5.75, 6 and a quarter, whatever it is, on your mortgage payment, the person on the other end is not allowed to come in when you sign a 30-year fixed rate and say, you know what, I think I need 8% now because times change, right? You're locked into that. The only thing that can happen is it can get better. Rates could go down and you could refinance to 4% and save yourself $350 per month. I don't promise that to anybody, and I don't have any crystal ball that says rates will go down, but you get into a mortgage payment you're comfortable with, you're not seeing rent increases like your counterparts who are still renting are seeing. You have the upside that if rates go down, you can refinance and go into a lower rate. And at the very least, you know what your payment's going to be. And I think most of us that are writing conforming mortgages, 95% plus of those are these 30-year fixed rate mortgages. The variable rate ARMs make sense on some of the jumbo deals, and some people that are using that kind of as a tool with jumbo loans. But it's the individual's timing more than it is the market timing. Because if you're waiting for the day where homes are half the cost they are today and interest rates are 2.75, you're going to rent for the next 30 years. And the house that gets bought today, no matter what the rate and what the cost, is going to be free and clear 30 years from now. So don't let the market drive your decisions. It's not the perfect time for everybody, but you've got to analyze that on a person by person basis. And stable job, comfortable with your credit and debt and all the other things in your finances. When you're ready to buy, you're ready to buy.
I love it, man. Well, look, man, I could talk to you for hours. You could obviously talk for hours too, man. You got the gift. You got the gift. So we'll wrap up. I just want to, if there's anything that you want to, I always give a chance at the end. If there's any message you want to give, maybe there are loan officers listening in your areas that you might want to talk to or anything like that, this is your chance. Or if people want to reach out to you, how do you want them to reach out to you?
Yeah, I mean, I'd love for people to go check out Matt the Mortgage Guy on YouTube. Like I said, it's been a passion project of 8 years. I probably have 600 plus videos there. My latest passion project is Get Better Every Day. And that's not just mortgage. That's health. That's business. That's all things, on all the streaming platforms. I'm talking to athletes and business owners and some mortgage executives. But I think that's where I would attribute my business success in mortgage and being able to help as many clients we've been able to help is that I'm getting better every day. Just a little bit better every day. Learning more and sharing more. And so, check me out on YouTube. Check out Get Better Every Day. And it was great talking to you, man.
Cool. Matt the Mortgage Guy, thanks so much for joining us. We'll have you on again soon, man. I appreciate it.
I'll look forward to it.
Thanks for listening. If you like the podcast, please give us a 5-star rating, subscribe, and tell all your friends about the show. We at Sales Boomerang started this podcast to elevate the mortgage lending industry by sharing the kind of exclusive, insider knowledge from the successes and failures of the best of the best. The foundation of every successful lender is borrower retention. Sales Boomerang is the #1 fully automated borrower retention system in the industry. 1 in 2 of the biggest lending companies in the United States use Sales Boomerang to make sure they reach out to their borrowers when they need a loan, and more importantly, before their competitors do. If you want to learn more about Sales Boomerang, check us out at salesboomerang.com.